there's just multiple markets in Ecuador, no matter what, and in any walk of life. Because labor here is so cheap, and because there's so little regulation and overhead and built-in costs for people running a business, especially small business, the calculation is reversed versus how it would be in the States, right? In the States, you can't have anything custom made because it's too expensive.
Yeah, are they retiring millionaires? No, but you know what? They're doing what they love to do. They're in the community, they're helping people, they're fulfilled, and they're contributing to the local community.
In the US, a lot of those things are just not available here outside of like Guayaquil and Quito, basically. Just because there's no demand. People haven't realized yet in Ecuador that like drinking soda and eating bags of chips isn't healthy. A lot of people that come here, they don't have a lot of money. Sure. They don't have like retirement money. Like they come here, they need to make a living, and they open a little business. You can't get a school calendar at all. They don't tell you when the vacations are gonna be. So at all. So like you don't know the actual dates for like Christmas break. Never see in any of these events, you will never see a fight, a dispute, a conflict, zero. No. In general, people here, they're authentic, they're peaceful, they have a lack of pretense. People don't have all these ideas in their head about what's cool and how they're supposed to sound and how they're supposed to look and who they're supposed to hang out with. The way people support one another here, that's just the way the culture. It's really an advantage that you have here as a foreigner of life here. You get treated better than your average person here. I have all these sort of false ideas about the US that I think a lot of times here, that it's some kind of paradise and you know everything runs perfectly and is beautiful, and you know people don't realize like they have, in my opinion, significantly worse poverty in the US than here. They don't speak the language, they don't like the culture.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%.
Loop.
Whatever you go into the situation believing, the behavior of the other person is going to change based on the output that you're giving and the input that they're getting in such a way that it confirms your preconceived notion. That if you do have, you're gonna hate it here.
Yep.
This place is not gonna work for you.
They're not ready to really think about who they are. What do they value? What are their passions? What is their purpose? What do they want to teach their kids? This is what I have to do to be successful.
Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider podcast. Jesse, Brandon, believe Carl's on his way back.
He is.
From the States. So he should be on the next episode. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you enjoy this content, subscribe, hit the bell. There's another one. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. I like the content.
Tell us in the comments how you feel, what you agree with, what you disagree with.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun.
Let's start. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's fun when people actually take the time to put, I mean, thumbs up are great. Don't get me wrong. Thumbs up, like the content, say, hey, good job. We appreciate the support. You know, that's awesome. When people really take the time to put some thoughts, well thought out comments in, it's odd. It like gives me a little bit of life. When I see, sometimes it's, you know, you get some repetition and it's hard for me to want to engage, or, but then some, you know, you'll get some really good questions or really good comments or great perspective or something that's completely different than I believe or think, or even a new way of thinking about something you and I talked about. I'm like, oh, all right, you know, and it's awesome.
Well, people don't realize the privilege of when they comment on our channel. They get to speak to you directly. Right. So that's pretty cool. So if you want to talk to Brandon, if you want to text with Brandon, leave a comment.
Oh dear Lord.
On the YouTube channel. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about your hat.
Yeah? You like that hat? You like this?
It's very good looking.
It's a pretty sharp hat, isn't it?
So so I've seen you wear this a couple of times.
Yeah.
I hadn't looked at the logo previously in depth.
Take a look.
So I saw it today.
Yeah.
I saw it today when I was looking at it more closely for the first time.
Yeah.
Your mic got screwed up there. You know, that it says Independiente.
It does.
Which is short for Independiente del Valle,
Sí.
which is the name of the soccer club that our kids play on. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that feeds the Olympic team. This feeds the national.
It's
team.
it's like a national. It's like a youth program that they have here. That's part of a national program that feeds into blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so we sponsor the kids here.
Yep.
You do a lot of cool stuff. You're very close at this point to some of the organizers, who we appreciate. They're awesome people.
They are awesome.
And I know your guys' families hang out and things like that. But anyways, we see the kids.
Tanya, Pato, Dario, Gato. Keep up the great work, guys.
So I'm going to assume Gato has blue eyes or green eyes.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Why?
Green. Fernando says green. Well, that's if you're Gato or in Ecuador, it's because you have usually green or blue eyes.
Ah, okay.
So there's a lot of Gatos. That's why like Sushi Cat, for example, in Loja, the owner, who's a friend of mine, Brian, has like blue or green eyes.
Okay.
And so
they call him
Gato. So he's Sushi Cat. He put it in English, and that's
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
So anyway, so the soccer team. So it's kind of fun. We see the kids. You see the kids every day running around town in jerseys that have our Abundant Living logo,
awesome.
which is kind of cool to see. But anyway, so tell us about this hat.
I mean, it's a sharp hat.
It's a sharp hat.
We've acknowledged that. No, they have the IDV hats here that they make, and I'm not a fan of the style of the hat. I'm a hat connoisseur.
You're crapping all over the.
I just do not. The style of the hat does not
live up to
my expectations. And
You're very high standards.
And I wanted to have. I like this pat. I like the patch,
logo's
right?
cool.
So. And I want to support them when we go to the events, and so I, my mother-in-law and her brother were just down, so I had them bring a couple of different styles of fitted hats, fitted trucker.
Oh, is that fitted?
It's fitted.
Oh, because it has the
Flex
mesh,
fit.
so usually that would not be fitted.
No, it's dope, right? It's a dope, fitted, structured. I mean, it's not complete flat brim, but it's got a little, it's a little straighter than
the full-on flat brim. I think we're too old for that
it's a
now.
little tough.
I believe
It's a little tough to pull off, but it's got some structure. So I'm like, all right, this is a cool hat, because I didn't like, a lot of the hats here have like the buckle in the back, and I mean, whatever, they're fine. It's not like my style.
Those came back, by the way.
They did. They're popular
last
now.
10, 15 years.
They're popular.
When I was a kid, those were out.
Yeah. I think they're still out. I don't know how they're in, actually. They're in for certain people. I'm not sure how in they are. The snapback, the plastic snapback, those are in.
Oh, that's
still.
what I mean.
No, these are like the strap with the buckle.
Oh, those are
the metal buckle.
No.
Those were never
those
in.
Those are like grandpa hats.
Somehow those are still.
My dad likes those.
Yeah, it feels right. Yeah.
They're comfortable.
Yeah, and they're adjustable. You can tighten them, and right. Yeah, they're kind of neutral. But yeah, so I wanted a cool hat. So they brought me the hat. I asked Tanya to get me a couple of patches. So I took the hat. The hat was like $10, and the patch was like 50 cents. And I took it to the seamstress in town, and she stitched it on, and I rocked it, and that's it, man. So I wanted a cool hat, and now I think we're gonna do gifts for all the coaches and
staff,
admin, because they're like, oh, that's awesome hat. Like, can you measure my head and try? It's
amazing. It's amazing what happens. The hat's $10. It's amazing what happens when you get away from logos and brands and name brands and what do they call those? What do they call it when like Disney makes a deal with Mattel to?
Oh, like a sponsorship? Or
I don't know. There's some like when you're allowed to use the brand or the image or the whatever. Licensing, yeah. You get away from all of that, what it does to price, huh? Like, it's super interesting, yeah.
And this brand, I forget what they are. It's a Flex Fit, but there's I forget what the brand is, but they make hats for all kinds of these, $40 hats. It's the same manufacturer.
Right, exactly. It just doesn't have the logo.
It just doesn't have the logo, right, yeah. And you can even do stuff where you can embroider here in the back of the mesh, and they can do some cool stuff. But
I was really into hats when I was, in like, basically probably maybe about 5th grade or 4th, 5th grade through probably 16 years old or something like that. I was really into hats, and so I remember when I was like real young, like probably 4th, 5th grade at the most, probably not even 6th, I would make money and then I would go buy hats.
Starter caps? No,
Yeah, the fitted,
the fitted
I think it was
starter?
New Era.
Oh, the New Era.
It was like the baseball hats, yeah.
yeah.
And so there, in the summer, I had this little hustle of like selling lemonade. I must have been younger because this was like, I wasn't doing that when I was
17.
Right. So, and then, so me and my buddy, we would sell lemonade and then we would ride our bikes into town, which was far, and go buy hats with the cash we made every day. Like this was and at that time the baseball hats, the like, you know, whatever hat you wanted, were $20.
Yeah.
And now they're, I think, what, 50, 40, 50,
Like
60
40,
bucks.
$40 plus, yeah, depending
This
on
is
the
interesting,
type.
like time capsule. It's probably 25 years ago at this point, something like that.
Yeah, we used to do the same. It was called Lids. If you remember the store Lids, I don't even know if that still exists.
I think so.
But they used to run promos like a certain period of time where you could buy a hat. It was a $20 cap. You could buy one. You basically get 2 for $30. You buy one, get one half off.
Right.
So we would save up and wait for the promo.
Yeah.
And buy 2 for $30. And now one is 45, 40, 50 bucks somewhere in there probably.
Yeah. Yeah, life's getting expensive back home.
It is.
Even here, there's been some small price increases I've noticed.
Yeah, a little here and there.
I remember we were talking on the pod about meat prices.
Yeah.
And I was like, the most expensive cut you could get is $4. And you were like, well, there's one for 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was talking about the market in Loja, but even that, my data's probably 3-4 years old. So I wonder even in Loja now at the market if they have a $5 cut or a more expensive cut.
No, it is, like all the meat now is a little, I mean, again, didn't double in price, but things that might have been like $4.50. Even coconuts, like what's the coconut now?
Yeah, coconuts have gone up.
Where are they, $1.75? Depends
where you buy them. They're still at $1.50 at the fruit stand next to Chino's.
Yeah.
But at the other place they're $2.
Oh, they're $2.
Yeah, they went from.
Yeah, and I think they were $1.25 or $1.50 3 years ago when I got here.
Yeah.
So you're seeing some.
Yeah, I think they were $1.50 for pretty much the whole time I was here until
maybe
recently.
That's what it was, $1.50.
I mean, you can find them still on the coast for $1 in some places, but.
Yeah, so you're seeing a little bit of that. You're not seeing a ton in the produce besides coconuts. I haven't noticed anything. We buy, now that we work with Lolita, that we've been buying a lot more food, and it's not. Yeah, there hasn't been like a huge increase. It was a little bit in the meat prices, but everything else is generally about what it was.
Well, Vilcabamba is super inflated also, in general. It's just funny. Like, my day's aunt comes to visit frequently from the coast, and she can't understand why you only get, like 20 lemons or something in the bag for $1, or like where she's at, she's gonna get like 60 or.
And it's even, you can go to Malacatos
and
get 40,
and even more in Loja. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's there. And even we went through Malacatos over the weekend, and there was, it was during the farmers market or whatever, the market.
Yeah.
And there's
Sunday market.
Sunday market. Yeah, there's people everywhere. Yeah. And there was produce everywhere, and the prices were.
Yeah, I mean, in every town in Ecuador,
they have that.
There's a Sunday market, unless it's literally not like too small to have one. Like, there is no town. Like, I don't think they have one. Probably they don't have one in Tumianuma, for example, where there's probably like 3 stores in the whole town.
Right.
But anyways, what were you saying?
No, just the prices there. Like, even in Malacatos, I mean, that's what, 10, 15 minutes from here? Yeah. And it's the next closest market, and it's considerable. Like materially.
I mean, it's probably not that different. Have you been to the Sunday market here or only the Saturday?
Only the Saturday.
Yeah, because that's like the organic market. That market is definitely more inflated, for sure. The Sunday market is probably the same as Malacatos, I would imagine. Although I haven't shopped there in years either.
Right. It just seems like everything in Vilcabamba. There's some convenience. You're paying for some convenience.
Exactly. And quality.
And quality in some cases, right? And some and choice in some things. Yeah. Variety.
Yeah.
But in general, you're paying a little bit for that. You're paying a little bit extra for that, in all kinds of stuff. Even like plants. Like you want to go to you can go here, and they're still way cheaper than you'd imagine from the States from going to a nursery. But if you go to Malacatos or you go even a little further out on this side of the road nursery, and it's like a fraction of that even, so.
Yeah, it's like, speaking to this as a larger subject, there's just multiple markets in Ecuador, no matter what, and in any walk of life, right? Like if you, depending on sort of like what market you're in, like where you live, and as an Ecuadorian, I'm talking about like what level, what social, economic status level you come from. There's totally different markets, right? So if you're a middle to upper class Lojano, for example, and you're looking to have, you know, cabinetry built, or you're looking to have, you know, an office outfitted with all the stuff, right? You're gonna go to the guy who has the nice office, who like has a good spot, who's like organized. He's gonna show you renderings, he's gonna show you designs, he's got all the catalogs if you're doing it that way. Usually it's all custom, but you know, it's like that kind of environment, and probably he's an engineer or an architect, or you know, has a college degree, which just means college degree here. So he's probably, you know, what they call a professional, and you're paying some substantially higher percentage in price increase than you would if you're not from, you know, if you're from like the lower classes or lower middle classes or lower classes, and you have less money and you're looking for a builder to build you something like that, and you're going to a guy who's like of that level, and you're definitely getting charged less. Like his margins are going to be quite a bit less. It's not going to be the same experience at all. So there's always like that trade-off. But that's true in like almost anything. Like we have, you know, as a real estate company, like we have different people we tap to go in and get prices and bring in listings in different areas, and depending on who the seller is. Like if a Lojano with money that like comes from those, and which is half the city, you know, it's not, this is not a poor area, not a poor country, like that's like a myth basically. But you know, if a Lojano who comes from that lineage basically of like the professional class, right, in Loja, goes into some rural town in Ecuador, you know, I'll just use this area around here, to go talk to a seller about buying a property, he's gonna get that's gonna be a totally different experience, more similar to experience we would get, versus like a campesino, like somebody from the country who's of humble means, humble background, who's going in and talking about how he's buying it for his cattle, or he's buying it for his beans that he wants to grow. That's like a different conversation. The seller's gonna give this guy one price very likely, and there's just like those two markets just exist in Ecuador in every walk of life.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen some of that even where, you know, we were looking, you know, where we live, we don't have a lot of storage, so we needed and we didn't have furniture down, we didn't ship furniture down, we didn't do any of that stuff, and we didn't want to just buy stuff. We wanted to wait until we were ready, and we weren't going to move for a bit, and then have something nice built, right? You know, or nicer than a lot of the stuff you can find pre-made and prefabbed and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, can I interrupt you for 5 seconds there? So that's really interesting too, and I just want to point this out for people. Because labor here is so cheap, and because there's so little regulation and overhead and built-in costs for people running a business, especially small business, the calculation is reversed versus how it would be in the States, right? In the States, you can't have anything custom made because it's too expensive. In Ecuador, you're going to spend more money on a lower quality item buying it from a store than you're going to spend on it getting it custom made. This is true across everything. So clothes, furniture, couch, like anything. Anyways, go ahead.
And this will be a perfect example to illustrate that, you know, your point there, because the furniture we've seen, like a dresser, like we've seen, and it's not that they're bad, but they're for the price, I would expect something a little better quality or less You know, they're using some MDF, or they're using some laminates or some press board in places that you probably shouldn't. They're not all, even some of the, you know, all hardwood versions are, you can see where they've kind of skimped, you know, or the quality isn't as good. And then for the price, and then it's not perfect, and it's, you know, things aren't good, you know, aren't great, right? So when we looked for you know, suggestions on carpenters, and we talked to a few, and you know, and then we finally settled on one where we're like, hey, let's give him a shot and see what he does. And we settled on a price and a timeline, and he delivered, you know, flawlessly. He said 10 days, and he delivered on the 10th day to my house and moved it in, and it actually exceeded my expectations. I was concerned, like I was so, maybe part of it was that I lowered my expectations because I wasn't sure. I've seen some of his work, but then it came and it was beautiful. It was something that I would have been happy to buy in the States. And it fit perfectly, it worked perfectly, it was finished, you know, it met my quality standards for the price. I mean, I would have paid way more for it, you know, really. And I have a friend.
It's got to be like a $1,200 dresser back
Well,
home or something.
I have a buddy that's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine that he's worked in a high-end furniture auction house in Chicago for 20 plus years. And they typically restore. They're not fabricating new stuff. They're doing, you know, antique or mid-century modern or just high-end furniture from around the world through this auction house. And I sent him the video of, you know, the dresser, and he's like, wow, that's, you know, he's like, that's nice, you know, blah, blah. He's giving me his opinion. And I said, how much would that cost? And he's like, well, it depends on the wood, you know, wood prices are different here, and the hinges or the slides, depending on the quality of the slides for the drawers and all the stuff that we kind of know. But he said in the States right now, in the cities, he said the labor to build that, I gave him the dimensions. He said the labor for that would have been $1,200 to $1,600 alone.
Right.
For the labor.
Right.
That's not including any of the materials for that dress. I mean, it was like a 5 foot. It was a pretty big dresser. And it was a fraction of the cost, complete labor and materials here, like a fraction of the cost.
You don't want to say?
I don't know. Should I say?
I don't see why not.
Okay. I mean, it was $230.
Right. And it seemed like a good deal to me. Like I've seen people pay certainly more for that. So I think you got a good deal. But either way, like
Right. It was definitely, I definitely didn't get ripped off relative to the States. You know? And did I get gringoed? Maybe a little, but I don't think so.
Not at all.
Oh, you don't think, you know, okay.
No way.
Yeah. And we kind of went through some other, you know, we've made some friends with Ecuadorian family, and really, you know, what you talked about with the different pricing and working through a family that's here that has humble means, but they're also, you know, have some skills, and they've shared some of that stuff in here. Talk to this person, or let me talk to them for you, and kind of like what you've done for me, and stuff like that. So that's kind of where some of this came from. And again, it's still that unknown piece where you're like, gosh, what am I going to get? You know, and then and then because you go through that relationship, what if you're not happy? You know, and then I don't want to, like, you know, ruin that relationship, but then say like, okay, thank you, that's it, and then resell. You know, like there's some things you're thinking about, like with the relationship piece, where you don't want to offend the guy, don't want to offend the carpenter. I sound a little woke, but just because I cared about the relationship.
I mean, you kind of have to be that way here a bit.
Yeah. So, luckily, I was blessed in that, and it did not have to come to that, and we're happy, and we're going to make more. And he's going to have another piece this week, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, what was impressive too was it sounded like, you know, he followed through on timelines, and he delivered a great product.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that stuff is not always, especially here in Vilcabamba. It's like, because Vilcabamba, there's just like, there's more money, there's more foreigners, there's more, it's like, it almost makes people's need to be great go down. It's
Yeah.
almost like there's, oh, well, it doesn't matter because, you know,
Right.
where like if you go to Loha, which I'm used to doing all this stuff in Loha, like if you go to Loha, like they want your business. They want to, you know, they're going to try and deliver. They're going to, and so, yeah, it seems like you found someone that is like that.
Yeah, and he's not. Also, he doesn't want. He's not. He has a full-time job. This is his hobby. Like he does this because he enjoys it. He makes a little money on the side, but he works a full-time job, and he does this in his spare time. He learned from. There was a Swiss woodworker that he worked with for years, and he learned all these Swiss woodworking techniques, and he does it on the side. And he doesn't really want me to go sharing his contact with everybody.
Oh, that's
and,
funny. Yeah.
You know, and and now at this point, now that I don't even want to right now because I have these things that I want, and I want, you know, like I'm being a little selfish. I'm just gonna lock them up for the next 3 months to finish my projects before and I've actually had to tell people like
hang tight.
Yeah, we've had like even our Miriam who comes in and cleans. She saw it and she's like, wow, I want to, you know.
No, it looks great.
And she's like, can I have his, can you put me in touch with him? I'm like, not yet.
So people might have seen me earlier drinking some juices.
Yeah.
This is like, you know, we're talking prices a little bit and convenient. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I go into that, I wanted to jump back into Vilcabamba prices and like the supply and demand. And you mentioned the word available, like what's available, availability.
Yeah.
So that's really important, right? So like we live in this little town in the southern Andes of Ecuador, where, you know, we're 45 minutes away from a city. In general, most of the little towns in Ecuador are pretty similar to one another. They all have the same stuff. They all have the same stores, the same everything. You know, cities have a little bit more variation between one another, but, you know, in Ecuador, sort of the modern amenities are new enough here. And when I say new enough, I'm talking 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, maybe whatever it is. But like they're new enough, and in some areas way less than that. They're new enough that a lot of the trends are just very quote unquote, and I'll put in quotes because it's not true really, but it is also true, behind, right? So the trends are behind. So I watched in my years, you know, my 11 years here, like I watched a lot of trends come here and become a thing that were established in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s in the US. So a lot of that stuff is, you know, behind. And so a lot of things that you're in a consumer, you know, in a sort of Western, modern, developed consumer culture, blah, 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 society like the US.
I think we covered them all.
That are right. We're not gonna get yelled at. No one's gonna yell at us. That you have in the US. A lot of those things are just not available here outside of like Guayaquil and Quito, basically, just because there's no demand, right? So those trends, for example, that I'm talking about, like the health trends in Ecuador, just started in the last 5 to 10 at the most years.
Yeah. Would you put Cuenca there or no?
Halfway. Yeah, I'd put Cuenca like probably or 70% maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So and there's little exceptions. Vilcabamba's one, Ayampe's one, where you know there's little exceptions, but it's where the demand is, right? So Cuenca if Cuenca's on that list, which I think it mostly is, it's because there's a lot of foreigners there. So those trends are behind. So like people haven't realized yet in Ecuador that like drinking soda and eating bags of chips isn't healthy. Like that kind of hasn't, or candy, like that hasn't occurred to people here yet really. It will, like they'll go through the same cycle the US did with that stuff. Like when did all those products start coming out in mass in the US? Probably the 50s. Like when manufacturing really became like a massive thing. Probably the 50s in the US. I don't know here, I think maybe the 80s, so I don't know, whatever that like lag time is will probably be the same. And then we'll start to see campaigns to, you know, eat more of this. Anyways, so those are behind. So what's interesting to me that you brought up that I just want to mention in Vilcabamba, right? So we pay a little bit more for sure in Vilcabamba for an apples to apples comparison. We're talking about food, we're talking about meat, you know, different things like that. You won't, you know, when you first get here, you won't even notice. You'll just be like, oh my God, it's so cheap, I can't believe it. That'll be your first reaction. But once you've been here a number of years, and if you've lived in other places in Ecuador or seen other places, it's cheaper in other places. including, like you talked about, the next town over,
Right.
10 minutes away. But the benefit to that is tremendous,
Yeah.
right? So because there's demand here in Vilcabamba for natural products, health in general, organic food, skincare products, hair care products, like the list goes on and on and on. Because there's demand for that here, so there has been people who have gotten into those businesses and met that with supply. So you have an organic market where like you can go on Saturdays and buy all your produce, and it's organic. You have a billion or several mom and pop little stores, little shops that sort of cater to those needs in town, where you can get your toothpaste if you want, if you need or healthy like natural toothpaste or deodorant or skin lotion or lip balm or
bug spray,
right?
Sunscreens, different, and it's almost like a step beyond that, where you can get, like for example, with the retreat group we had the swag bags of stuff, and we have a custom, naturally made bug spray, and I think we had sunscreen in there. I don't recall if we had that.
Yeah, I think so.
There was like but you have somebody, and they made it the batch just for us, custom, right? And you can customize with some of the skincare if this is the base, and hey, this doesn't jive well with my skin, this particular essential oil or this, then they'll customize it for you here, right? Where yes, that exists in the States too, that exists in other places, but you're getting it in real time, fresh ingredients, no preservatives, none of the chemicals, none of that, like at a fraction of the cost that you would pay to have something like that, and way faster, more time. So you're paying a little bit more than maybe you would pay in, I don't even know, because you couldn't get it anywhere else in Ecuador.
Right.
That's kind of the thing. Like,
that's the thing. And it's cottage industry. So you're like, literally you're supporting people you could be friends with, at the very least know.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
Because a lot of people, there's a lot of people that come here, they don't have a lot of money.
Sure.
They don't have like retirement money. Like they come here, they need to make a living, and they open a little business like that, and they support themselves.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And locals as well, of course.
And it's a lot of these are passion projects for people.
Yeah.
Where this financial model for the passion project or the lifestyle business doesn't work at the scale they can manage right now as a startup business kind of thing in the States. Like they couldn't do it. Where here, you can have somebody that's doing that's making custom soaps and natural healthcare products and deodorants, and yeah, are they retiring millionaires? No, but you know what? They're doing what they love to do. They're in the community, they're helping people, they're fulfilled, and they're contributing to the local community. It's pretty sweet.
And the lifestyle, right? Like they have time to be with their kids and to go to the river and to go here and do all this cool stuff that's available here. All the different classes and workshops and activities and all this awesome stuff in the community.
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because like for me, again, my family, Tiff was in finance accounting, I was in finance and accounting, and we're keeping track of every 6 minutes at one point in our careers, right? So it's very regimented about time and deadlines and all that stuff. So then you come here, and it takes some time to really, I don't know if accept is the right word, but integrate into the lifestyle that's here, because most people here live that way, where they're not slaving 15-hour, 12-hour a day jobs and coming home and running their kids everywhere, and everything is, because people are generally living a more relaxed lifestyle, have more time, things aren't planned as well.
No.
Right? Or even if they are planned as well, they're not communicated as well. Yeah. So they might be planned for 3 weeks, but they tell you the day before. And like, hey, there's an event, you have a dance.
Can I give me 8 seconds before you finish this story? So the best example that I have, because it's at the national government level, the national government sets, and they have different regions. So there's like coast region and mountains and different regions, have the school calendar gets set by the federal government, by the national government. You can't get a school calendar at all. They don't tell you when the vacations are going to be. So at all. So like you don't know the actual dates for like Christmas break or what we would call spring break or whatever. You don't know that. The national government doesn't announce them. Look, this is a few years old. If this has changed, I don't know. It was when my daughter was in school in Loja. But the national government doesn't announce them until like closer to when they are. Yeah. So if you're trying to plan a vacation or whatever, like they don't even.
Look.
So right. So it's not even, and it's not even. Anyways, continue your story.
It's exactly that, right? So, you know, Quinn's playing soccer. Bella is doing a couple different dance groups, and it's just like the day before. Oh, we've got a tournament. Well, what do you mean? You didn't. Tomorrow at night, you know, or you've got a dance performance in Malacatos at 5:30, you know, and for what? I don't know. They didn't say. Like, well, what are we celebrating? What's the performance for? I don't know. Bella's like, I don't know, Dad. I'm like, well, ask. You know, they just said that we have to be there at this time. I'm like, okay. So, like, one of them was about messages. Was it Friday night or I don't even remember. It was a couple days before, and she's like, we have to be in Malacatos Saturday.
Yeah.
For what? I don't know, and there's like the novenas thing, so there's the religious celebrations, all the different barrios are celebrating different saints, so we did a bunch of stuff with Los Wilcos barrio. She danced with it, which was actually pretty cool. It was fun, man. The whole town, the whole barrio comes together, and they have music, and they play bingo, and they have a bingo night, and they have, you know...
kids are having a blast, there's food, there's music.
Food, dude, So Tiff and I were sitting in the Concha, and Quinn's out playing... soccer.
I like how you're just throwing random Spanish words in now. It's good. It's
good. So right, yeah. What is it called? The field court. Yeah. So it's this covered court, and there's bleachers, and everybody's sitting around, and they're in between dance groups, performances, right? And people are eating, and there's music, and all the kids go run out onto the Concha in between, and they're playing soccer. And Quinn's the only, you know, out there with all his Ecuadorian friends, and they're just running, and Tiff and I are, you know, enjoying ourselves and waiting for Bella to come out with her group. And there's this, I don't know, he's like I guess he's kind of famous around here or famous in this region, this Ecuadorian singer. And he comes out and he's got, you know, sharp white, you know, white cowboy boots, like all sharp looking. And he sings a song, and then in between he's like talking to the crowd, and we're there with this family, and it's a bigger family that you know kind of invited us, that we've befriended, and he starts talking, the singer starts talking about like, yeah, blah, 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 thanks for everybody for being here. And he said, I don't even remember exactly what it was, but it's something along, we even have some special guests from the United States that are at the local
they shouted you out.
And then all Diego's family, they all started laughing. Like, because we were literally the only ones there.
Yeah.
But it was just such a blast, awesome. Dude. And food, and everybody's happy, and it was awesome.
And you'll never see, in any of these events, you will never see a fight, a dispute, a conflict, zero.
No, it was none of that,
zero.
Yeah. So anyway, I was talking about the Malacatos thing, but we had that going on this week. So we just assumed, and there's some other ones in other barrios that are happening, like from now for the next few months, there's all these different, you know, celebrations for the saints. And so we thought that's what this was in Malacatos. So we go and we get there, and all of a sudden we hear like electronic music bumping, and I'm like, what the hell? And we walk by, and we're like, and Belle's like, this is where they told us to go. This is the directions. I'm like, this is like a festival. This is like a music festival. So we go down there, and it's a I forget what they call it, Malacatos Rio Festival or something. Yeah. It's like this electronica music fest. They had all these different DJs, and there were people everywhere. And there was food, and they were spinning cotton candy, and again, it was right by the river, so we got there when it was light, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. They got lights, and people are hanging out and dancing, and different DJs, and then Bella had a dance group that they were performing in between the DJ break. So we ended up staying. We stayed till, I don't even know, late. And it got dark, and then they had like laser lights and music. And again, people were happy, dancing. There were no fights. There were no arguments. There was young to old. So normally it's something like this, you'd see like a certain genre of people. And there was a good chunk of young people, way younger than me. But there were little kids, up like to grandparents. To grandparents. But they were all there, having fun, dancing. It wasn't like this, oh my God, they're moshing, or there was like this dance. Like the kids, people were looking out for the kids. It was across the river. You know, it was dark in a lot of places. Like you think about like some of the regulation for an event like this, what they do for Lollapalooza, not that it was anywhere near that large, but any type of festival, and they have all the regulation and the safety and and there's places that needed to be lit, because if you weren't paying attention, you were falling into the river, or you were sliding down some mudslide, you know. And so Tiff's like, I'm like, let's go grab. Can you go grab some water? Because I was filming some stuff, and so Tiff runs and comes back hands me a bottle of water. She's like, hands me a bottle of water, and I open it, and it was Punta. I'm like, Tiffany, you know.
That's like a sugar cane based alcohol that they make here, which they mix with the it's guarapo, which they take the Punta and they mix it with the sugarcane juice.
Dude,
and usually a squirt of sour orange.
It was terrible.
It wasn't good.
It was not good at all. It
must have been too much Punta, because sometimes it's delicious.
This tasted like fire water. It was brutal.
No, Punta,
and I was thinking it was water.
Punta basically tastes like rubbing alcohol. It was straight? It was white?
No, it was like a small tintish.
Yeah, that's the guarapo, yeah.
It was a small, but it wasn't a lot of guarapo. What do you say?
Of the sugarcane juice, yeah.
No, there was not a ton of that in there, boy. It did not.
Your ears get hot.
Ooh, yeah. But it was fun, man. And then Bella's dance group performed, and they did good. And then the whole crowd, like some of this kind of stuff, you see places where you perform and the crowd's not paying attention and nobody cares. But here, like, they surrounded the dance group and they're chanting during it, and then they're clapping. You know, it was... I don't know, it just felt like people were there having a good time, and they cared, and it was like good energy.
It's just Ecuador. Like, it's just Ecuador.
And that's not my scene. Like, I'm not like the electronica dance music scene, but the energy was awesome, man. It was the energy was so high, and everybody was like, it was, even though the music wasn't maybe 25 years ago in college, I was into some of that, but like I haven't been into that in years and years. And I thought couldn't wait to get out, but because the energy was so good, like I was fine staying there. It was enjoyable. Like it wasn't like, it was like, it was good. Like I wish we would have known, because I would have planned, like it would have been fun to go with a group. You know?
Right. Dude, the production value on some of these like little small town events is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when they do stuff. Again, I don't know, at this point, the population of Vilcabamba is probably 8,000, something like that.
Maybe.
8,000 person, 8,000 person town, maybe less, could be 6. You know, when they have events in the park, I mean, it looks like a professional, like U.S. standard professional, like concert level, almost, you know,
sound system, pyrotechnics, light show, everything. No, it's really well done.
The MC and
the MC,
you know, was our boy
Angel, dude. Angel, not Angela. Angel. No, he's awesome, man. He was built for that.
Yeah.
He's like the Ecuadorian pit bull.
That whole family, they're like, I don't understand how they exist. They're like the wrong size for this
They're
country.
giant for this area. Yeah.
But I mean, so yeah, and that stuff you were describing, I mean, it's a good insight into the culture here, right? Because there's just, in general, people here, they're authentic, they're peaceful, they have a lack of pretense. People don't have all these ideas in their head about what's cool and how they're supposed to sound and how they're supposed to look and who they're supposed to hang out with and blah, blah. They just don't have any of that. And so, you know, it creates a different atmosphere, it creates a different environment. You don't have like kids doing all kinds of crap that they shouldn't be doing. You know, people are respectful. They're respectful of their parents. They're respectful of their grandparents. They're respectful of the community. They're respectful of other kids. They're respectful of little kids. You know, and that support. You know, the way people support one another here. That's just the way the culture is. Like that's true in every community essentially in this country. People are gonna, you know, be nice, and they're gonna be polite, and they're gonna support one another, and like that's just kind of how Ecuador is.
Yeah, when we were at the music fest, there was a couple of Bella's Ecuadorian friends that were there, and we were it was supposed to be at 5:30, and then for some reason it became 7:30, which became 8:30. So like, all right, we need to eat. So like, I would have just walked to Malacatas, and I haven't spent a ton of time in Malacatas, but I would have walked and found the closest place and probably just ate there. So we're talking with her friends, and she's like, no, let's go over here. This, it'll be faster, and there'll be less people, and this is good. And so we go do that, and we all eat there, and it was actually really good, like really good flavors. Like, yeah, it was. So we ate, but then, when we got back, and the girl that we went with, her family is from Malacatos, and they have this little store, and her dad was there, so they introduced us to her dad, and we ended up giving him a ride back. Or no, they lived in the girl's aunt, or somebody part of her family is in Malacatos that has the store, and they live in Vilcabamba. So we ended up giving them a ride back, but by the end, within a short period of time, they're like, come here, we can, prices here, or blah, blah, blah. They're like giving us deals and just wanting us to, like, oh, come and hang out, or we're doing this for dinner and that kind of stuff. Just because I don't even know why, if you're just willing to talk to them. I don't understand totally if it's just gringos.
They're proud of their area.
Yeah.
They think it's cool that you are there and doing it and like seeing what real life here is about. And so they want to like give you the best experience you can have, so that your impression, so that you understand, like, so that your impression of them, of their community, of their town, of their is good. It's like along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, okay, that makes sense. Because even, now that I'm thinking about that, we're crossing the bridge to go to the music fest, and as Belle and I were walking, it's Belle, Tiffany, and I, and the promoter is there with their videographer and stuff, and they got the banner, and they like stop us, and they're like, you need to take a pic. They're giving us the banner, like, we want you're gonna be on the, like they wanted to get a picture with the white people at the festival, and like, we're gonna put it on. They were like so proud about, here's the website, here's the Facebook, we're gonna put you right on the front, and I'm like, this is so weird.
That leads into two subjects that I should mention, right? So, and the first one slipped my mind, so I'll hit number two and then hopefully remember number one. So it's really an advantage that you have here as a foreigner, because people, and I remember number one now, because people are so sort of interested in you / kind of wanting to like have a relationship with you, be good with you, like show you things, like take care of you, like all these kinds of things, coupled with people's preconceived notions about foreigners. They're on time, they do what they say. Like there's some preconceived notions about foreigners that really work in our favor. It creates this advantage really as a foreigner of life here. You get treated better than your average person here. You get more respect. The people are a little bit more nice, more welcoming. People assume you're gonna show up. They assume that you mean what you say.
Right.
So there's an extra level of like respect and kindness and welcoming that comes with that. People are interested in you, so they want to talk to you. They want to know about you. Right. And so like, you're experiencing those things. And that's how it is here, which is an advantage as a foreigner. The other point I wanted to make, right? So people have concerns. I had them when I got here. They weren't necessarily conscious, but I definitely had them. Of, what are the people in this country I'm going to visit or live or whatever? What are they going to think of me? Are they not going to like me because they think I'm based on where I'm from, based on the color of my skin, based on my language, like whatever those things are, right? People have those concerns. So the way that Ecuadorian culture relates to foreigners, like US culture, European culture, those kinds, the way they relate to it is that for them, in many cases, and there's all walks of life here. Many Ecuadorians have been to Spain, have been to the States, have been other places, but for the 70-80% of the country that hasn't, right? It's throwing that number out there, whatever it is. For the vast majority of people who haven't, the U.S. culture, particularly from Hollywood and from whatever, wherever they get this sort of their sort of opinion or information about kind of U.S. culture, it's something that they're fascinated with, interested in, and have some amount of affinity for. Even if it's false, right? Like sometimes, like, people have all these sort of false ideas about the U.S. that I think a lot of times hear, that it's some kind of paradise and, everything runs perfectly and is beautiful. And, people don't realize, like, they have, in my opinion, significantly worse poverty in the U.S. than here. Not in every case. Like, you'll find worse poverty in Guayaquil, for example, in the absolute slums than you would just about anywhere in the U.S. But, like, overall, the level of poverty that people deal with in the U.S. who are really impoverished in many parts of the country is way worse than what we would consider somebody here who doesn't have a lot of money. Someone here who doesn't have a lot of money, anywhere outside of the major cities, they have plenty of food, they have plenty of water, they're not cold, there's no, like, they're all fine, like, they're completely fine. Like, they might live a very simple, happy life, and not even, like, just financially, they don't have a big bank account, but, like, they have a great life. Totally different. But yeah, so people have this sort of preconceived notions about you that are positive when you're coming here from elsewhere. It's not that they're gonna look at you of like, oh, this guy coming in here and what are you doing in my country? There's none of that. Like,
No, that's actually a great point, because that's a lot of the feedback not a lot, but there's feedback I hear from gringos here that have been here for a few years or coming here, and they tell themselves those stories.
Yeah, I know.
And oh, well, Ecuadorian, even to the point where my son's getting comments from other gringo kids like, oh, they're only friends with you because, or they don't, and it's like, no, dude. Quinn just spent the last 10 hours with their family at their house. Spent the night, like, no, dude, it's not about like, oh, they're only friends with him because they want to come to your house to play your PlayStation. Stop. Like,
people here aren't even conniving like that.
No,
people here don't even think that way.
Right.
Like,
speaking of PlayStation, did you see, not to change the subject, but did you see there's the
video game centers? I was talking with Kirsten. I was like, let's go. I'm like, let's go play something.
There's two. There's one by the office, and then there's one on the main road.
On the main road,
They have like these gaming. What are they? Gaming.
Yeah, they're like televisions where you can go and play video games.
Like, I can't. That's in this town.
I know.
That's so wild to me.
I'm like, I want to go, like, play some video games.
Yeah, but the culture is like, to me, man, that you have. When you have gringos that have that fear that they're gonna be taken advantage of, and they're gonna be, they're getting plotted against. Well, that's the experience you're gonna have.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, and if you choose not to tell yourself that story, doesn't mean you're never gonna get gringoed. Doesn't mean But it just means that you're going to have a different experience if you're open to having those relationships and taking the time to establish them and work on them. And then it's real. Then it's not, hey, they're just trying to take advantage of you. No, that's not true at all. And if you think that, you're missing out, well, and
also if you look at everyone that way, you're just going to have a crappy life here.
Yeah.
Like, if you think all these, these lovely people are like out to get you, your life's going to suck. You're going to have a small, angry world.
And if you do the opposite, the opportunities are endless. Like, you can't even put a cap on the experience, because then all of a sudden, we're getting invited to go to this. We're going to this town a couple hours away. That's a friend's father's, where he grew up, and they want to bring us there to show us, that town, and go to this restaurant and go up to here, and like, then it's, those things open up to you, from local people that are showing you things.
And that's how you really see the country. That's how you really see life here. That's how you really know the people. That's how you have the experiences you want to have. I mean, yeah, totally. Like, you have this sort of portion of the foreign community in Vilcabamba that just, like, it's this, like, circle.
Yeah.
Where, like, they don't speak the language, they don't like the culture, like, they don't like the people, sort of. They've decided those kinds of things like you're talking about. And then they have this sort of, like, circular conversations around, like, negativity.
Right.
You know, that it's like, and that's just because like that's who they are. It's not, has nothing to do with the life here or the people or the experiences available to you. It's just because like if you were in Beaumont, Texas, you'd probably be having the same conversations with the same type of people.
And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%.
Loop.
No, I mean, they did those studies. I mean, look, we're all totally creators of our own reality, but like they did these studies where they gave it's famous, you'll know about it for sure, but they gave these studies where they took people who were going into interviews. Yeah. And they gave them, you could probably say it better than me. Do you recall it well enough to explain? Go ahead, because I'll screw up some of the details.
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about.
So some of them I'm going to get wrong. So wherever it clicks in for you what I'm saying, take it. Yeah. So they basically, they were setting up, it proves that we confirm our beliefs is the point of it. But they were setting up these fake job interviews with people. And so they sent them in with a specific set of like behaviors that they were supposed to do. Was it that or the, no, sorry, it was the interviewer. Sorry, I'm totally wrong. They set up the interviewer with a certain set of behaviors and attitudes and like way he was supposed to interact with the interviewee. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm gonna like butcher this, but basically what it proved, since I can't remember well the details, but basically what it proved is whatever you go into the situation believing, the behavior of the other person is going to change based on the output that you're giving and the input that they're getting in such a way that it confirms your preconceived notion. So like if you went in already believing, oh, this guy's this guy's that, whatever. Your posture changes, your tone of voice changes, the way you relate changes, the whole thing changes. And then as a result, the behavior of that person that you're talking to becomes not as nice and more this and more that. And so then you confirm what you believed about them. Right.
And then you're in your own head and you're thinking like, oh, that wasn't a very nice response. You know?
Exactly. So yeah, I remember in college like reading this in some class and being like, oh, before I had any idea about the way all this stuff works. But yeah.
So that you can create your own prison if you want. Right. And that's kind of, it's obviously not quite that, but it feels like that here. Like you could easily do that. And I'm seeing folks that have kind of done that, and it's just like, wow, you could easily change that if you want, and you just have to make a different choice. Tell yourself a different story, and maybe that's not as easy as I think.
No, I mean, I always wonder like why folks who do that are still here. Like my question is always like, well, if you don't like it here, what are you doing here? Right. But then of course, then they wouldn't be able to sit around and complain about it, which I think is really the
perhaps
really like what they're trying, But yeah, I mean, what's so cool for me, and we just had this, we just had this obviously with this retreat that just wrapped up a few weeks back. But and our next retreat is in October. Check the link, please, in the description if you guys want to check this place out. I'm telling you, what is it? Completely unbiased, I'm telling you that this is like an A+ way to learn everything and to get to know this place. You will not be disappointed. So check that out in the comments below. But yeah, we just wrapped up a retreat and seeing seeing people discover this place, like seeing what it does to people. And we've talked about that before, but this guy, I won't mention his name in case he doesn't want it, but this guy came, befriended me on Facebook maybe a couple months back, and we've had a couple of brief, messaging interactions. He seemed like a cool guy from California, and, he kept telling me, oh, he's coming down, he can't wait, he loves the pod, blah, blah, blah. You probably did. Bald? Bald, like 60s maybe?
Yeah, no, he messaged me, He reached out to talk about
Oh yeah, I gave him your number for the knee stuff.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. Got you. So he well, I don't know, actually I did. I gave him Ashraf's number. I don't know if I gave him your number. I must have if he had
he told me, Jesse gave me your number to talk to you about, borrowing money. I'm like, what, Jesse?
So you see, I'm getting a juice at the Saturday market, at the organic market. They have a little juice bar there. I get my kids, I can occupy my kids for a little while, and I usually get a green juice. And I see him walking through the meat section, and so I'm like saying hello, and so he's here and he's discovering this place, like similar to the retreat participants. He's doing, of course, on his own. And I'm been going back and forth with him very little, but just like a message here or there over the last days. He's looking for this, he's looking for that. I'm sending him contacts and telling him, where to find stuff and what to do. And just like watching people who are already starry-eyed about the place, in his case. In the retreat participants, not so much, but in his case, we're already starry-eyed about the place, and then come and not be disappointed.
Right.
Come and be like, oh, like it's all real. It's all what I thought it was, and better, and more, and oh my. And with the retreat folks, it's more like they tend to come a little, some of them will be like that, but more often.
There was a few of them
there was a few of them like that, but more often, or some of them anyways, it's a little more jaded. It's more like, let's see.
Right.
Let's see if this place is really anything special at all.
Right.
And then to watch, like, over the first few days, like, those, this whole lifestyle and this whole thing I'm looking for exists, it's really cool.
Yeah. And a lot of times with the retreat groups, because we get a mix of, guys like you were just talking about that are here ready for retirement or a new change. So they're a little more, maybe starry-eyed's the word. With the retreat groups, we get a lot of people that are more looking for the structure and kind of like the package, and they've traveled all over the place.
Right.
So they've been to Thailand, they've been to Costa Rica, they've been to Panama, they've been to Colombia, they've been to Argentina, they've been to Brazil, they've been all over South America, they've been all to Portugal, all over Western Europe, and so they have a lot of comparisons, and they don't have these high expectations. Right, you're jaded. I don't know if it's jaded or what's the word? Cynical, like a more cynical look, a cynical, expectation. And then so for me, those are the best ones.
Right.
Because then they're coming and they see, and again, it's not for everybody. It's probably not for most people. No. But if you're in that realm of this, what this place offers, and you're looking for it throughout the world, and you get here, it's like, holy cow, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe we should touch on that for a second. We do all the time, but like, there's some characteristics that you might even believe you don't have that you do, right. that if you do have, you're gonna hate it here.
Yep.
If you're somebody who hates disorder, needs timeliness, needs organization, needs everything to work the way you think it works, needs everything to be on time and show up and have a plan and have a, blah, 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 blah. Like, this place is gonna suck for you. If you want convenience in the sense of like, I don't enjoy going around and shopping at 12 different stores for the stuff I need. I want in and out at the supermarket, like if that's important to you, you're not gonna enjoy this town.
Yeah.
If you're not someone who's willing to sort of take on the human everyday interactions to work stuff out, and you prefer to rely on a system or a protocol or a government agency or like, this place is not going to work for you. There's and a lot of people I think are a little more relaxed and cool with that stuff than they actually are.
Right. If you think about it, man, a lot of it is in the systems they're coming from, the environments that are coming from. You and I came from one of those, right? In the States, if my lifestyle was here, you lose, you fail, you can't succeed. It's not possible, right? In most places. Yeah. So you're almost conditioned. You can't take your time shopping in a grocery. You need the efficiency, because you don't have any time, because you're running around, you're running this job, and you have this to do, and you have this to maintain, and this. So you need the order, you need the efficiency. You don't have the time to breathe, to think. That's kind of why, that's the hamster wheel we talk about. That's the machine. That's the matrix that people are in. That's why they don't even have time for self-care or to think about what they really want out of their lives, or to really understand that they get 15 minutes when they're home to watch the news clip. That's their shaping of perspective of the world, is the vitriol and the fear that's happened that they consumed in those 15 minutes, and they've got Facebook before they go to bed, and then they're doing it again, and they're running their kids around, and they're going to work, and they're running to the grocery store, and they're running home, and it's always like, it's not living in the moment. It's like, it's going through the motions to get to the next thing, get to the next thing, get to the next thing, got to get to the next thing. So that order makes that possible, right? So it's like a double-edged sword. It allows you to be successful should you want to be in that environment. It has to be like, you have to
gotta be on it.
You have to be on it. Yep. But do you really want to be on it? Or are you just conditioned that, like, this is what I have to do to be successful, this is what I have to do to have life, to do life here? And then when you come here, if you're here long enough, you're going to be forced to unwind. You're going to be forced to kind of deprogram it some way from that. And then it's a choice. Do I appreciate this way of life or not? Can I get comfortable between the ears? Can I get comfortable with myself? Can I be okay with this? How do I even process having time to think about my health or myself or what I want or what's important or any of that while I have it here? Do I really want that, or no, that's too scary for me. Right. I'm gonna run back to this, because this, at least I don't have to do that here, and I can be successful here. Yeah, you either adapt or you have to leave, right? And a lot of people, I think it's the mental piece that they're not ready to really think about who they are, what do they value, what are their passions, what is their purpose, what do they want to teach their kid? Any of that kind of stuff, they don't really want to go deep on that here, because it's scary to actually have to question the way I've done life up to this point. If I answer these questions, honestly, does it align or not? That's scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, it sort of forces self-responsibility life here, and that's great if you want that, and awful if you don't, right? And
that's why I think most people don't want it. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at politics and the society we live in, I think that's pretty clear, right?
Yeah. So that's why most people aren't going to like it here. This isn't for most people. But those few people that have, I don't even know what the word is. It's not evolution. What's the word? The people that have gotten to that point in their heads and in their value systems. Yeah. Man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing for them. I
have a hilarious story, which I completely forgot about, that will illustrate a little bit of just how things are here, right?
Hold on. You keep talking. I'm listening. Excuse me, guys.
So, my daughter is, I don't even know, do I look at the camera now? So my daughter is, normally Carl would still be here. I'd have someone to look at. So my daughter's flying to the States. She's going on vacation, visiting some family. She's actually going to hit Paris with my mother for about a week. And she's headed out of town for 7 weeks. So she's 15. Obviously, well, anyways, without getting into that. So I take her to the airport in Catamayo, which is the Loja airport. And she's allowed to fly internationally now because she's 15. She does not need to fly as an unaccompanied minor. She can fly now normally. So all she needs is the paperwork to leave, the parental permission paperwork to leave the country. As long as she has that for immigration, she can fly now normally. So I don't have any reason to go to Quito with her from Loja and spend the night in the hotel and then fly back the next morning. She's arrives at the airport, she's got a few hours to kill, and then she's got a flight to the States. So what I've settled on the last 2 or 3 times she's done this, so there's one issue with that. The local airline, the Ecuador airline, has a policy even within the country that she still needs to be with someone or be an unaccompanied minor. So I take her, so this is an issue, right? So I have to either pay extra, do a whole paperwork thing, and then have someone to get. All right, you win. You win. Oh, I wish they could see what you were just doing. So I have to either pay extra, send her as an unaccompanied minor, but then also have someone to meet her in Quito to like receive her, which I do have. I have, anyways, but it's not right in the city. But I do have people out by the airport, so I could do that if I needed to, or I just have to say who she's traveling with. She just has to be traveling with someone. It doesn't have to be a family member. It just has to be not an adult.
But it has to come from you.
I mean, I have to tell them. Like
Not
the airline.
on paper?
No.
Oh.
So the first time this happened, I get to the airport. I already knew this was going to be an issue. And I see a family, I won't say their names, but I see a family who you know, who are traveling on the same flight. Oh no, I didn't know this was going to be an issue this time. I didn't know. So I actually brought my stuff just in case I had to fly with her. So I'm at the airport, so they're like, well, she da-da-da-da, and I'm like, oh no, she's traveling with a friend of mine, and they're like, oh, who? And I'm like, da-da-da, I just say their names because I see them sitting there, and they're like, oh, great, da-da-da-da, and they put it in, she's good, right? So then the last 2 times, though, I didn't see anyone I know, so I had to ask somebody in line, like, hey, right? So the last time, it turned into a little bit of a problem because the guy I asked, who was totally cool with it, had no problem doing it, was an attorney, and he was all like in his stuff about legalities and stuff. So he's like checking this and checking that, and then when he gets to the other side, I guess he had said something to them, and now they're questioning her, and she's freaking out. So it was like a little bit of a thing, but of course it worked out fine. So then this time we're waiting. I'm trying to see if I know anybody. You know, usually I know people from Loja that are on the flights, and you know, I lived in Loja for years. It's not a big city. Like the people who fly are within a certain group in general. Like, so I didn't see anyone, and now we gotta like get on the plane. So there's only one guy in line. So I say to the guy, so I'm standing there, I'm literally like 5 feet from the ticket agent, and the guy who's right in front of me isn't checking people. He's like standing right there. So I say to the guy, it was all in Spanish, of course, but I say to the guy, I'm like, hey, you know, excuse me, da, da. I tell him, I'm like, listen, I just need a name, you know, she's traveling, da, da, da. And he looks at us and he asks her, he's like, is this your father? She's like, yes. He's like, yeah, no problem, right? So I go up to the ticket counter, and I guess, I don't know if they had changed the policy or it's just like everything in Ecuador, it depends on the day and who you get and all that stuff. But they made him like fill something out, and they made me fill something out. I'd never done that before. And so the guy's like, yeah, no problem. He signs the thing, and I sign the thing. But the funniest part, right, is that Kirsten tells me as I'm talking to him, he's like, Dad, he's like, they're listening to you. Right? So the agent, like one of the guys behind the counter, heard the whole conversation, is right there in front of him, knows what we're doing, no problem. Like that didn't cause an issue at all. Wow. And she goes and gets on the plane. Turns out the guy was really cool. He was, he speaks 7 languages. He's Lojano. He speaks 7 languages. He works for some international organization. Blah blah blah. But
nice.
Yeah, that was.
Wow, that's funny.
I mean, this is like Ecuador. This is just Ecuador. Like
this is microcosm of Ecuador. Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
So, all right. I guess we'll leave it there unless you got something else before we wrap.
I don't know. Did we cover everything we wanted to?
Well, we didn't have a game plan or any topics we wanted to cover. So yes.
I guess if you've made it this far, guys, like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Give us some comments below. Like, what do you guys want? What do you guys want us to talk about? Do you have? I mean, last episode, what was it? Gentrification. We got some good dialogue on gentrification and
I feel pretty gentrified after that conversation.
You're quite gentrified.
I was told yesterday that I strut.
Yeah.
Do I strut?
Well, when you wear those painted-on jeans, you do.
I mean, you're the artist. You did the painting.
You have those jeans. It's like they're so tight. You like it's like a duck walk.
Hey, listen, man. I'll wear those anytime as long as you do the painting, baby.
Yeah. Like it's the swimsuit. The swimsuit. Remember when they did that?
Yeah.
Remember when that got popular?
That was huge when that came out. Yeah. I was like at the perfect age to really appreciate that. I was probably about 11, 12 years old.
That was a thing. Yeah. I don't know. I think we've Is there anything else we need to talk about today? I feel like we're missing something that we said we were going to talk about. Do you not feel that way? No?
What did we say we were going to talk about?
I don't remember. I wish I remembered. If I remembered, I would know.
If only you wrote things down,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it, man.
All right, good.
It's good enough.
Well,
my grandma always said, it's good enough for the girls I date.
did your grandmother actually say that?
She actually said it's good enough for the guys I date.
Oh, she did, yeah.
But she was married for 70 years.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
dated one guy in her life. That was the joke. Right?
Yeah. All right. I don't know the tagline. You got to start it.
We hope to see you guys down here one day.
And until then,
we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.
Ciao, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel right here. Check out our real estate channel right here for content that you will absolutely love. Click right here. And if you want to know how we got here, click here.